Within the past few years, with increasing public awareness about NDEs or near-death experience phenomena, people have begun to open up about similar kinds of spiritually transformative experiences, or STEs. One profound form of STE involves recollections of having existed before birth. These have been termed pre-birth memories. Other similar accounts of pre-birth or premortal life are found in NDEs and in other forms of profound STE experiences. Many who share their pre-birth experiences relate feelings and themes similar to persons who have experienced NDEs. These include insights into the nature of spirit, descriptions of a heavenly place, and communications with God and angelic beings. Dominant themes in pre-birth experiences include coming to Earth for the purpose of spiritual development and planning important aspects of our mortal life while in a heavenly realm. Pre-birth experiences also address the role of suffering and personal missions we came on Earth to fulfill. Religious and philosophical beliefs regarding a pre-birth life are not limited to Eastern philosophy or religion such as Hinduism. Examples of premortal beliefs include Jewish mysticism's concept of human reincarnation, or Gilgul, the Baha'i faith who teaches that certain enlightened individuals had a premortal existence, selections of early Christian fathers such as Clement and Origen of Alexandria, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who teach a premortal life and plan before ever living mortal life, and Socrates, who believed that man existed before birth. Pre-birth experiences strongly suggest that these beliefs are rooted in authentic spiritual experiences.
And what I call the pre-birth memory, it's just this, it's nothing to do with reincarnation. It's not directly. Like, I think that you can embrace such an idea as pre-birth memory without having to accept reincarnation. Because there are elements of it that resemble Christianity also. You could look into it from that perspective if you're comfortable looking at it that way. I found myself in a place with what I call guides, and these guides were directing me kind of to go to Earth, and it seemed like it was a mission of some kind. And so these beings, one can interpret them as angels. And this is pretty much what I used to believe, and to some degree I still might believe that. It seemed like they were doing the work of some type of higher power, certainly. They were kind of just following orders. Like, it seemed like they had a limited amount that they could do, maybe to make me more comfortable or to affect my life. Like, maybe I had a certain amount of choices that were in their control to accept or deny, something like that. But it felt like there was a higher power somewhere, and the very first part of this memory involves me being in a much larger space, like a palace or something like that. It had that kind of vibe too. It was like a very regal, almost sort of energy to it. And there were, in my memory, I mean, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but I believe that it was like a palace with pillars and all kinds of fancy decoration there and everything. But it was inhabited by like more energy beings. And I was one of these energy beings, and in this particular place we had no specific form. Like, we were more like balls of energy. And we were waiting in this huge queue. Like, you know, in a bank or in an airport or something, when you're waiting to see the clerk, and it's the busiest hour of the day. Think of that, but times like 100 or 1,000 or something. Like, it was just a huge, huge queue. Like, You know how it goes with these roped off areas, and you have to go back and forth, and eventually your turn comes. And so as my turn neared, I felt a greater and greater sense of anxiety and anticipation about where I was going to go. I kind of knew what was coming, and there was like a doorway that I had to step through. And I don't remember exactly what this doorway looked like, but I've recreated all this actually in an animation. I've given it like my best shot of showing at least the feeling of what it was like and the basic sequence of events and everything. But it's not really 100% accurate. It actually looks a little bit cheesy to me in retrospect. I did this a few years ago. I wanted to kind of share, help people recognize, at least, if it was something similar to what they experienced. So anyway, I went through this doorway, this archway, and I found myself in a darker space. Previously, it was like I was just surrounded in like this bright, warm, loving light or something. And now in this darker space, there was almost like a chill in the air or something, like I was being separated from something. I was being separated from the love and the sense of family and everything that I had been connected to before that. So in this darker, emptier space, there wasn't much in terms of decoration or anything. What I think, when I recreated this, I kind of had to intuit what I felt was in this space. I felt that there were once again pillars there, and I felt that perhaps there was some kind of a pool off to the right, some kind of equipment or something, very basic equipment. That would be the best word to use for it. But other than that, there was no real decoration to speak of. It was a very unadorned space. And the biggest feature of this room was a window or a screen of some kind. These beings came into the room with me, and what I would call the guides, they were larger than I was. They looked like they were made out of pure energy or something, and that's another thing I'll get to in a moment. But it was like they directed the view screen, or they configured it somehow so that the Earth came into view. And when I saw the Earth, I was incredibly anxious, even more so than I had been when I was waiting in line. And I knew at that moment that I didn't want to go. I was absolutely adamant that I would not go, and I was panicking. I was losing it. And so these guide beings, they started wondering, what's wrong with this kid or something, or I don't know if they were taking pity or what, but they became very kind of like disconcerted by my reaction. And so they went and talked among themselves in the corner, or off somewhere, a little bit out of my earshot maybe, if you could call it that. Because, yeah, it was different, and I don't know how much I remember about it being like psychic, telepathic communication. But from the other stories that I've read, that is how people feel about it. And I don't want my story to be colored by other people's stories, so I'm not going to say for sure that it was one thing or the other, but it felt like they were kind of talking amongst themselves, and I wasn't really privy to everything that they were saying. It was like they had to talk for a little while, and I got a sense that they were like, yeah, what are we going to do here? He doesn't want to go. Is there something that we could do to make him feel better or convince him to go, or blah, blah, blah. It was that type of vibe to it, and I knew that they were doing that. And so the main guide, he was like more blue energy, or he had like a blue aura to him. He came back and gave me the news, or the verdict, or whatever, the conclusion that they had come to. And they came to this conclusion And I think it was that they offered me some kind of compromise, something to make me more comfortable. And maybe that was that they were going to send me to a specific family, because I don't remember having a choice of which family, which parents I would be born to. It seemed like that was chosen for me for some reason. And maybe it was some kind of karmic thing, I don't know. But something was compromised there, and also I think this is something that people often say, and I'm just going to kind of go along with it because it makes sense to me. It feels right to me. I don't usually go along with things the other people with memories say, because I don't want to pollute my own memories, but I feel like they let me know that they were going to let me remember, and that would make sense because I do remember, and I hold on to that memory, and I've cherished that memory, and it has helped me through many different difficult periods of my life. So if I had not had this memory, I don't know if I'd be here right now telling you this story, because I've had many depressing periods in my life, and I might have been a lot more self-destructive. I've had different vices over the years, and I've done a lot of damage to myself even as it is, and I think I probably would have had a lot more self-destructive behavior. And I think having this memory has also played into whatever mission you could say that I have here. Maybe I have a mission, or at least it plays into how I choose to behave as a human being, and what I choose to value, and how I choose to treat people and treat myself.
The memory I have is that I was in a space. I could not see walls or a ceiling or a floor, or it was this massive space. And there were many other beings of light in that space. Most of them were off in the distance. And I was in the presence of a giant light, and I was in complete joy and bliss in the presence of this light. Or to my left, there was a screen. And this is where we were planning my life, and we could change the course of my life somehow by altering what was on the screen. And it was almost like a movie that you could go in and you could edit and change things, but it was actually changing things in my physical life. So on the screen I could see the universe, and with all the stars and the planets and the location of the earth, and then we could dive in and zoom in on my life and all the events that were going to happen, and we were tweaking it, and I don't remember any of the details except that I asked for red hair, and we were going through the final planning stages. And at that time, I've received questions about this. I knew all about my life, what it was about, what my purpose was, what I was going to accomplish. Jesus was light. The angels were light. There were other children there, and they were light. The whole atmosphere was light. I don't remember anything of what the place looked like because it was just all light. I do remember Jesus was smiling and laughing, and light was coming off of him and out of him and into us. And the angels, their job was to fight the evil in the world, and they did this through love. They didn't do it through violence and opposition to the evil. They did it through overcoming darkness and overcoming evil with love, helping to soften people's hearts to love, helping their eyes to open to spiritual things, help healing families, healing hearts. I remember being with some type of female spiritual being of light, and I don't know how long I was with her, but I was held in her lap, and I remember she was made of light, I was made of light, everything was made of light. There was no shame or guilt or any of those feelings that I associate with my earthly childhood. It was just pure safety, acceptance, and love. And I was being nurtured. And again, everything was light. Like the light from her was coming in, becoming one with the light that was me. And the light was coming off of us and joining the light in the atmosphere. And it was a real thing that you could feel. And it was safety and security and unconditional love. So I have a lot of like impressions of memories that where I was in a dark place. It was a comforting and safe and secure and peaceful place. It was like a place of rest or reflection. I could see beings of light. I'm using the word beings of light because that's how they appeared to me. That's how I experienced them. I don't know if they were angels or other humans in spiritual form or some type of other being created by God. I don't know. But I would see them, going past me, going about, doing their thing, and I was safe and secure in this place of rest, and it was dark, and off in the distance, I could always see the light. The light is the main event. The light is what it is all about. So the light was like the size of a universe, and it was, they say, brighter than a million suns, stronger than a million storms. I don't know how else to describe it. From off in the distance, it's just this massive light. And let me tell you, to describe this feeling, you are looking at it and you feel like the intensity of the longing of a million lifetimes. Like it is the world's most powerful magnet, and you have to, that if you get to the light, it is the answer to the deepest desires of your heart. I can't describe the longing that a soul feels to be in that light, to be sitting there looking upon that light, content in knowing that I was where I needed to be, but yet this intense desire, like almost irresistible desire to be in the light. People want to know what it looked like. Aside from the immensity of it and the feelings associated with it, it was like it was made up of billions of smaller lights, and they're all moving together in unison. The best way that I can describe it is that when you're out on a snowy night and you see the snowflakes coming down by a lamppost, and they're all swirling and twirling and moving together in unison, put together with that visual, a sound of hauntingly beautiful music, and each snowflake has its own note. And then this is happening on a massive, massive scale, the size of a universe. How many trillions and trillions and trillions of tiny lights singing a note, and it makes this massive symphony of sound that is the creation of the universe, holding it together and pulling everything back in to itself. I have memories of actually being in the light. So I'm gonna do my best to describe this, but please understand that it is impossible to describe. It is impossible to understand, and I have searched for years to find the right words. The best words that I can really think of to describe it is all-consuming love. That is what it was. It was love. And it was a fiery, white hot, consuming love that just completely satisfied and captivates your mind. I remember being in the center of a cosmic storm of pure brilliance so bright that it would blind human eyes or consume any physical form. And I think this is why the Bible talks about Moses not being able to look at God's face, and about warning people in the Old Testament to stay back so that they were not consumed. But the thing that we don't understand in the church, it's not because he's angry. It's not because he's pouring out wrath. It's because he is such an intense fire of love that the love will burn anything out of you that is not of love. Emphasis on holiness and and the teachings of the Bible about walking in the Spirit and not out of the desires of your flesh, it's because we have to be purified. I remember being inside like a cosmic hurricane of light, and all around me there were columns of light swirling upward and downward all around me. And I remember having this knowledge that I had been born from the light, that I was a very young soul, and I had recently been born out of the light, and I had not yet left it, and the light was my entire existence. It was all that I knew, and I was completely consumed and captivated by the light. So it's like a human baby, it grows from and is born out of its mother's body. We actually literally come from the light. I remember having this knowledge. We were created out of the light. It's what we are. We actually come from the light, and we are grow and develop and are nurtured within the light, and then are born from the light. And every atom of the light was also sound, and it was the sound, the best way that I can describe it. And again, I'm doing my best to put this into words of something that we would understand, but it was like a deep, warm voice powerfully laughing, and with every sound of laughter came endless waves of comfort and bliss and satisfaction, and knowing that you are so safe and so securely held. And the laughter was creative. It was creating. The laughter was also music, and I've already talked about the music. So unimaginably, heartbreakingly, indescribably beautiful music on a multi-dimensional level that you just cry with happiness just listening to it. And I don't know how to describe it. This light and love, this cosmic storm of light and love, was a being. It wasn't just an energy source. It was a very deeply personal being who knew me and who knows everybody on such a deep, intimate level.
And I'm with other people, and we were talking about Earth, and I'm not even thinking about this world. You know, this world didn't exist to me then because I'm there. And one of them, who is sort of like an overseer of our group, that we were discussing about coming to Earth, and he said, you know, everything's already been said, everything's been done to help with people to have the truth. They have it. It's just that something's not connecting. And I said, what else can we say or do to help people? Because the main concern was all the wars done in the name of religion, in the name of God, which is not what religion was supposed to do. It was supposed to bring us together, not to separate us. So I was thinking in that realm. I think I can help people, you know, to help them maybe with explaining by using positive and negative energy, the opposites, you know, not that there isn't just an extreme of positive and negative, but you got everything in between, how everything have consequences of, if you choose this will happen, if you choose that'll happen. You have all these different outcomes. And so anyways, as soon as I said that, they started preparing me to come to Earth. And I need to deliver that message. So that's why I feel important and why I'm coming out and sharing it. I stepped on this platform. I was out and I saw the galaxy and I saw the planets like I was out in space. Yvonne has that memory as well. And some of these other people, they talk about it in their books too. And I didn't know them. You know, I'm having these memories, but I hadn't shared with them yet. And so these are the things that when we finally did get together, it just blew me away that they also had these memories. And I mean, it was like you were right there in outer space, like you're an astronaut, but you didn't need any suit or anything, you know. But everything was real close. And but he was explaining about, you know, how the planets, you know, orbit and then sometimes it's in the dark, and then it rotates, and then it's in the light, you know, from the sun. And I said, oh, I know what you're talking about, you know, because at first you saying about light and dark, I've been thinking about the energies, like a positive and negative and things like that. So I said, I know what you mean. You're talking about like creation. I said, okay. And then I started talking to him about creation. And in about 5 months after this experience, I decided to talk to Roy Mills about it because he has pre-birth memories. So maybe some of this will make some sense to him. So this is like January of 2001, and I call him up, I said, I have some weird memories and I don't know why or what that mean, and so he was very open. He was always gracious. He's such a kind heart. And so I shared with him, and he said, that happened. And they're like, how do you know it happened? I'm telling my story. How do you know it happened? And he says, I have those memories too. And I said, so he started sharing with me. And he says, yeah, I remember I was with someone and I was showing them like the planets and things like that, and showing them. And then he said something about, because we're going back and forth saying, I was sharing what I remember, he shared what he was saying, and the memories connected. He was saying it from his perspective. And then we realized he was the one that was there with me, teaching me. He was that guide. He showed me the planets and everything. And he also told me about 2 other women, and it just blew me away. I said, oh my gosh. I said, my whatever I learned, in religions never said anything about this to me. This just blew me away. I said, something's not right. How come nobody tells these things? They don't teach this in church. And around Easter time, this is April 2001, where Roy and I both drove to Tam's house. We all live in different states because we wanted to meet each other since we all have connected memories from this place. I said, I gotta get to the bottom of this. Either it's gonna be true or something's gonna fall through and it's just gonna, one way or the other, I'm gonna find the truth. But so I stayed at Tam's house for a couple nights. Roy could only stay one night. His wife was with him, and she was sick, so he had to go home early. He didn't want to go, but, because we stayed up like till 3 o'clock in the morning talking about our pre-birth memories. And just, oh my God, it just blew me away. All the things that we talked about and how we all have memories. And Roy would talk about being in this, everything looked white, so you don't really see walls or ceilings or anything. It just looked white, bright white, like you're inside of a light bulb or something. It's just real white, but it doesn't hurt your eyes, and it's very comforting. You feel safe and love, and but when we're there, we were all lined up. There's different places in heaven, but in this particular event, we were lined up facing the front, and there was a throne. And sure enough, I didn't remember this till after Roy was sharing this with me and Tam. And he said that, he wanted to ask God a question. And he was permitted to, and so he went forward. And when he went up to God, at this time, we couldn't see God. It was just like brilliant white light. Couldn't see any physical features in the spirit, even though it's not like us, it's still different. But God led him, and he went into the light, and Roy thought that none of us could see him or hear him. But I was there, I remember, because after he said, it was like if you held an egg up to the light and you see the inside yolk. And as soon as he said that, it popped, and I remembered that incident. I was there, and I know what he said is true because I witnessed it. And I said, I heard it. I was there. I remember. And he said that when he looked around at everybody there in heaven, a lot of us had spots. And and my understanding, it was, and Karen talks about in her book, and I didn't read her book at that time, but she said it's like not really sins, but it's like the areas in us that we need to learn. It's where we weren't knowledgeable, and they sort of showed up, because when you're in that bright light, right in God's presence, God sees you, He knows what you need to learn. He just knows. And those were, the little spots are kind of indications of where they need to learn. I don't know, it means something in the spirit world, not here, but there. So anyways, I told him, you're not alone, because I was there and I know it happened. So I'm testifying to it that did happen.
Pre-birth memories illustrate a life lived in a heavenly realm of love and light before being born into this world. There we understood each other's thoughts and feelings without the cumbersome need for language. Souls were born from the light, the source of love, God, a very real being who knows us personally. In this heavenly realm resided Jesus Christ, a throne, and angels. The angels had influence in this world, overcoming the darkness on earth with light and divine love. Choices were made there about challenges to be faced in this world and missions to accomplish. An array of choices and outcomes were displayed vividly to spirits that were about to descend to earth. Specific events to be experienced here in this world were chosen with purpose. A veil was placed to remove the memory of this premortal world, with the understanding that certain key events were planned before this life. We can find greater strength and faith to face the challenges that come before us. Knowing that we are personally and deeply loved by God softens our hearts to the struggles and pains we must all pass through in this forlorn world, away from our heavenly home.